Good morning. Welcome back to the Tabernacle Seventh-day Adventist Church broadcast here on our YouTube channel. We're so glad that you have decided to join us. Here in Portland, Oregon, it is beginning to feel like summer. The sun is out, the birds are buzzing, the flowers are beginning to bloom. And I am anticipating some of the fun activities that will hopefully come with summer, things like picnics and outings and camping. Growing up, my summers always included a lot of driving. My dad was a pastor and he would speak at one camp meeting or another. There were a lot of naps in the car, a lot of adventures in Odyssey, audio cassette tapes. My father loves two things, history and root beer. So along with mandatory historical marker and root beer stops, there were some other stops. And my favorite of these was always the aquarium stops. It didn't matter if it was a big, beautiful aquarium or a tiny family-owned one. I loved and still love watching fish and rays and seals and belugas swim by. A few years back, I came across the story of an orphaned otter pup. She was rescued from a California beach and was dubbed Pup 681. She was a helpless newborn when they found her. She only weighed 2 pounds. And in order to survive, she would need a lot of care and guidance. The children of Israel needed a lot of care and guidance. Despite wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, they are acting like newborns. They are helpless, and they need some help if they're going to survive. The book of Joshua opens with the death of Moses. Moses has led God's people faithfully. He has struggled with them and for them. He has pleaded with God on their behalf. And now this job, this monumental task, passes to another. Joshua has proven that he will be faithful to God's call, and he takes up the leadership of this stubborn nation. In Joshua chapter 1, verse 5, God promises Joshua, "No man shall be able to stand before you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will not leave you or forsake you. Be strong and of good courage. For to this people you shall divide as an inheritance the land which I swore to their fathers to give to them." Don't worry. Moses did fine, so will you. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. But think about it. This is a daunting task. Moses was fearful. God had to send his brother Aaron to him before he would even start the task. Moses failed. He broke the tablets God had inscribed. Israel worshiped the golden calf. Moses got angry. With Moses at their helm, Israel feared to cross the Jordan, failed to go into the land, and failed to lay claim to their promised inheritance. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. It makes it sound like following God's plan is easy. But Joshua already knows that it isn't. He has held up Moses' hands. He has seen the struggle. God goes on. His promise to Joshua doesn't end there. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid or dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Don't be afraid. Conquer the land. Sure, you'll have to fight, But this is more WWE than MMA. It's fixed. You can't fail because God is on your side. God assures Joshua that he alone is the author of Israel's story. God is with you wherever you go, whatever is happening. When her rescuers arrived, pup 681 had been separated from her mother for at least 16 hours. While most pups remain with their mothers for at least 8 months, pup 681 had only received a fraction of that nurture and training. After some intensive care and lots of love, she stabilized. I like what one of the caretakers said. It truly takes a village to rehabilitate a young sea otter. Our animal care team is teaching the pup how to otter. Under Joshua's guidance, God's people learn how to people. They take the land, they let God fight for them, and as they do, God works mightily and does incredible things. Israel crosses the Jordan, worships God, takes Jericho, defeats undefeated kings. It is a fixed fight. Despite a few bumps here and there, it goes mostly accordingly to plan. And then we get to the book of Judges. Joshua dies, fear and failure reemerge. One by one, the tribes are listed, and after them, the words, "Nor did they drive out the people from the land they had been given." Failure. Israel got used to the fight being fixed. They got tired of driving out, and that is when trouble showed up. During my time working at summer camp, there was a skit we would do. One staff member represented a Christian. He or she stood in the middle of the stage, praying, asking God to come into their life, to chisel out the bad, to form them into what God wanted them to be. Another staff member then walked onto stage, a chisel and hammer in hand. They depicted God and got started on the work of shaping the rough edges. After a little discussion and a few chisels here and there, the Christian would say, "Enough." He or she would put off letting God work. They'd say, "Another time, another day." They would bargain their way out of the work that they knew God needed to do in their lives. The God character would sadly take his chisel and hammer with him, leaving the stage. It wasn't long before the Christian character would wonder why trouble was showing up in their life, why God wasn't present in shaping them anymore. When things are going well, we get used to the fight being fixed. We blunder ahead expecting God to work mightily in our lives, and then we come across the Canaanites. Anger, jealousy, those things we want to hold on to, crippling fear of the future. And when we ask him to, God puts down his chisel. He stops writing our stories like he stopped writing Israel. He lets us pick up that pen, shove the Midianites into the corner, but they don't stay there for long. Our actions have consequences, just as Israel's actions did. Trouble shows up. Judges 2 says, "The angel of the Lord went up from Gilgal to Bochim. and said to the Israelites, I brought you out of Egypt into this land that I swore to give your ancestors. And I said I would never break my covenant with you. For your part, you were not to make any covenants with the people living in this land. Instead, you were to destroy their altars. But you disobeyed my command. Why did you do this? So now, I declare that I will no longer drive out the people living in your land. They will be thorns in your sides, and their gods will be a constant temptation to you. When the angel of the Lord finished speaking to all the Israelites, the people wept loudly. Israel fails. She diverts from the plan. It is a choice that would plague her for the entirety of her existence. The fight would no longer be fixed because decisions have consequences, and so trouble shows up. This starts a repeating theme for the children of Israel. Israel does evil in the sight of the Lord. Trouble shows up. They cry out to God, and God raises up a deliverer for them. This isn't just a theme found in the book of Judges. It is a divine theme. This is how God deals with us, with his rebellious human children. We are like helpless, newborn sea otter pups. We need care and guidance to survive in this big, bad, sin-soaked world. Like Israel, our stories are full of fear and failure. Trouble shows up. But thankfully, that's not where the story ends. We cry out to God, and that is when he shows up. He gets out his chisel and he starts to work. He raises up a deliverer, the one named Jesus. Someone who teaches people how to people, someone who covers our many fears and failures with his blood and grace. During the 18th and 19th centuries, the fur trade nearly hunted sea otters to extinction. Pup 681 is one of the lucky descendants of the few who escaped. It truly takes a village to rehabilitate a young sea otter. Animal care experts have taught Pup 681 to groom, forage, and feed herself. They've also taught her to use towels to regulate her body temperature after swims. For now, she lives protected, blissfully unaware of a world that threatens her existence. As Christians, we also live in a world that threatens our existence. We have an enemy who, given half a chance, would hunt us to extinction. But we are protected. God protects us, and for now, we get to share this village with brothers and sisters, people who are following God as best they can, people whose fears and failures are covered by his grace, people who are learning how to people. In overcoming fear, I had to learn to sleep without a nightlight. Recently, I have been reading stories on Facebook Live every day, and it got me to thinking about some of the stories that I have grown up with, the stories that have shaped me. And as I was learning to live without a nightlight, my parents bought a book they hoped would help me battle my fear of the dark. It is titled, Can't You Sleep, Little Bear? I think that often children's books have messages that us adults could stand to learn. So I want to share this book with you. Once, there were two bears, Big Bear and Little Bear. Big Bear is the big bear, and Little Bear is the little bear. They played all day in the bright sunlight. When night came and the sun went down, Big Bear took Little Bear home to the bear cave. Big Bear put Little Bear to bed in the dark part of the cave. "Go to sleep, Little Bear," he said. And Little Bear tried. Big Bear settled in the bear chair and read his bear book by the light of the fire, but Little Bear couldn't get to sleep. "Can't you sleep, Little Bear?" asked Big Bear, putting down his bear book, which was just getting to the interesting part, and padding over to the bed. "I'm scared," said Little Bear. "Why are you scared, Little Bear?" asked Big Bear. I don't like the dark," said Little Bear. "What dark?" said Big Bear. The dark all around us," said Little Bear. Big Bear looked, and he saw that the dark part of the cave was very dark, so he went to the lantern cupboard and took out the tiniest lantern that there was. Big Bear lit the tiniest lantern and put it next to Little Bear's bed. "There is a tiny light to keep you from being scared, Little Bear," said Big Bear. "Thank you, Big Bear," said Little Bear, cuddling up in the glow. "Now go to sleep, Little Bear," said Big Bear, and he padded back to the bear chair and settled down to read the bear book by the light of the fire. Little Bear tried to go to sleep, but he couldn't. "Can't you sleep, Little Bear?" yawned Big Bear, putting down his bear book with just 4 pages to go till the interesting part, and padding over to the bed. I'm scared," said Little Bear. "Why are you scared, Little Bear?" asked Big Bear. I don't like the dark," said Little Bear. "What dark?" asked Big Bear. "The dark all around us," said Little Bear. "But I brought you a lantern," said Big Bear. "Only a teeny weeny one," said Little Bear, "and there's lots of dark." Big Bear looked, and he saw that Little Bear was quite right. There was still lots of dark. So Big Bear went to the lantern cupboard and took out a bigger lantern. Big Bear lit the lantern and put it beside the other one. "Now go to sleep, Little Bear," said Big Bear as he padded back to the bear chair and settled down to read the bear book by the light of the fire. Little Bear tried and tried to go to sleep, but he couldn't. "Can't you sleep, Little Bear?" grunted Big Bear, putting down his bear book and padding over to the bed. "I'm scared," said Little Bear. "Why are you scared, Little Bear?" asked Big Bear. I don't like the dark," said Little Bear. "What dark?" asked Big Bear. "The dark all around us," said Little Bear. "But I brought you 2 lanterns," said Big Bear, "a tiny one and a bigger one." "Not much bigger," said Little Bear, "and there's still lots of dark." Big Bear thought about it, and he went to the lantern cupboard and took out the biggest lantern of them all, with 2 handles and a piece of chain. He hooked up the lantern above Little Bear's bed. "I've brought you the biggest lantern of them all," he told Little Bear. "That's to keep you from being scared." "Thank you, Big Bear," said Little Bear, curling up in the glow and watching the shadows dance. "Now go to sleep, Little Bear," said Big Bear, and he padded back to the bear chair and settled down to read the bear book by the light of the fire. Little Bear tried and tried and tried to go to sleep, but he couldn't. "Can't you sleep, Little Bear?" groaned Big Bear, putting down his bear book with just 2 pages to go and padding over to the bed. I'm scared," said Little Bear. "Why are you scared, Little Bear?" said Big Bear. I don't like the dark," said Little Bear. "What dark?" asked Big Bear. Well, the dark all around us, said Little Bear. But I brought you the biggest lantern of them all, and there isn't any dark left, said Big Bear. Yes, there is, said Little Bear. There is, out there. And he pointed out of the bear cave at the night. Big Bear saw that Little Bear was right. Big Bear was very puzzled. All the lanterns in the world couldn't light up the dark outside. Big Bear thought about it for a long time, and then he said, Come on, Little Bear. Where are we going? Asked Little Bear. Out, said Big Bear. Out into the darkness? Said Little Bear. Yes, said Big Bear. But I'm scared of the dark, said Little Bear. No need to be, said Big Bear. And he took Little Bear by the paw and led him out of the cave into the night, and it was dark. Oh, I'm scared, said Little Bear, cuddling up to Big Bear. Big Bear lifted Little Bear and cuddled him and said, Look at the dark, Little Bear. And Little Bear looked. I've brought you the moon, Little Bear, said Big Bear, the bright yellow moon and all the twinkly stars. But Little Bear didn't say anything, for he had gone to sleep, warm and safe in Big Bear's arms. Big Bear carried Little Bear back into the bear cave, fast asleep, and he settled down with Little Bear in one arm and the bear book in the other, cozy in the bear chair by the fire. And Big Bear read the bear book right to the end. Little Bear is a lot like us. He's afraid, scared of the dark, fearful of all the unknown. He tries and tries and tries to go to sleep, but he can't. He fails. But with Big Bear by his side, everything changes. The dark and light made no difference, not even the biggest lantern of them all. It was in the darkness that he fell asleep, surrounded by Big Bear's arms. Big Bear had been there all along. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid or dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Our world is a dark and scary place. When faced with darkness, not even the biggest lantern of them all does much. What makes a difference is who walks with us through the dark. As we stumble along trying to follow God's blueprint, trouble will show up. But when it does, we can be sure that the author, our judge, our deliverer, walks beside us. The big world is dark, but with Jesus, everything changes. He has been with us all along, covering our fears and failures with his grace. Trouble may show up, but we have a rescuer. It's okay to go to sleep because he is with us. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. Lord, we come to you today as people who try. We try and try and try, but on our own, fear overcomes us. Trouble shows up, we fail. Thank you for being at our side. Thank you for raising up a deliverer. We claim your promise to Joshua that you will be with us wherever we go. We invite you to be the author of our stories. Come in, work on us, work with us. Thank you for your care and guidance, and especially for your covering grace. Amen.